On a Tuesday in early 2024, something happened that didn't make the front page of the New York Times. It wasn't a war, and it wasn't a stock market crash. It was a transaction. A shipment of oil left a port in the UAE, headed for China, but for the first time in 50 years, not a single US dollar changed hands. For decades, we've lived under an unwritten law. If you want to power your country, you must pay in greenbacks. This is the bedrock of the American lifestyle. It's why you can buy cheap electronics, why your mortgage rates are manageable, and why the US can run a $38 trillion debt without collapsing. But that bedrock is cracking. While we were looking at domestic politics, the rest of the world started building a backdoor, a way out. And if they succeed, the very definition of the American dream will change overnight. Today, we're going to look at the sovereign pivot, a global movement to bypass the dollar. We'll see why our closest allies are secretly hedging their bets, and more importantly, we'll answer the one question no one wants to ask. What happens to your bank account when the dollar is no longer the world's king? But you won't just understand global macroeconomics. You'll see the hidden forces currently determining the price of your next car and the stability of your retirement. To understand the threat, we have to understand the power. Since 1944, the US dollar hasn't just been money. It's been the world's operating system. Because the world trusts our legal system and our military, they use our currency. This gives America a superpower that no army can match. We can print money to solve our problems, and the rest of the world absorbs the inflation. We call this the inflation export. It's the reason why, when the Fed prints trillions, the price of milk in Kansas doesn't double instantly, but the price of grain in Egypt does. Now, you're probably thinking, wait, isn't the dollar still 80% of all trade? Why should I care about a few oil shipments? Actually, have you noticed how every time you go to the grocery store lately, the prices never seem to correct back to normal? That's not just corporate greed. It's the first symptom of a system that is losing its buffer, and the cause can be traced back to a single decision made in Washington, D.C. 2 years ago. A decision that changed the world's perception of safety forever. In February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. The US responded by doing something unthinkable. We didn't just stop trading with them. We froze $300 billion of their central bank reserves. In the short term, this looked like a masterstroke of diplomacy. We cut off the war chest without firing a shot, except every other country in the world was watching. Nations like India, Brazil, and even US allies like France realized something terrifying. If your savings are in dollars, you don't actually own your money. You're just renting it from the US Treasury. This is the weaponization trap. If you disagree with US foreign policy, your entire economy can be deleted with one keystroke. Look at this. This isn't conspiracy theory money. These are the smartest financial institutions on earth, central banks, buying gold at a rate we haven't seen since the 1960s. Why? Because you can't freeze a bar of gold sitting in a vault in New Delhi. But gold is heavy. It's hard to ship. So, how is the world actually transacting without the dollar? The answer lies in a new digital infrastructure that most Americans have never heard of. But now, a group called the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They represent 40% of the world's population. They aren't fringe players. They are the global factory, and they are tired of paying the dollar tax. You might ask, how can they trust each other's currencies? The yuan isn't the dollar. They don't have to trust the currency. They just have to trust the system. Using technologies like mBridge and CBDCs, they can now swap currencies instantly, peer-to-peer, bypassing the New York banking system entirely. This isn't a future threat. This system is live. As we speak, thousands of transactions that used to flow through Manhattan are now moving through digital servers in Beijing and Dubai. For the average American, this means the demand for dollars is dropping. And in economics, when demand for something drops, its value falls. This is where it starts to affect your wallet. Let's talk about your life. Most of us work hard, save what we can, and hope our 401k grows. But if the world ditches the dollar, the US government can no longer export its inflation. All those dollars floating around the world, they come home. We call this the dollar homecoming. The US government has to cut spending or raise taxes to pay for that $38 trillion debt because no one is buying our bonds anymore. We aren't looking at the end of America. We are looking at the end of American financial mono. We are looking at the end of American financial monopoly. There is a difference. Remember that oil shipment from the UAE we discussed at the start? It didn't destroy the US economy. It just signaled a change in the rules. US is no longer the manager of the world's money, but just another player. It means we have to be more disciplined. It means we have to innovate. It means you have to be more strategic with your assets. The people watching this video are already ahead of 99% of the population. You're looking at the data while others are looking at the headlines. The dollar might be losing its throne, but the world isn't ending. It's just getting a lot more complicated. And in a complicated world, the most valuable currency isn't gold or paper, it's information. Today, you've closed the gap. You know what's happening behind the curtain.